Hello fighters and welcome to UK versus Deck Review. I don't do these quite often, so let's get into it and talk about Paul Phoenix, the 6 hand size 29 health brawler with all fire and order. Paul is one of the promotional cards that you're able to get during Store Championships in 2024 and for Tekken 8, and comes with two very cool abilities. 1, discard a card. This attack gains stun 2. And 2, once per turn, your kick or punch attack gets +1 damage for each of your rival's committed foundations. So stun 2 is an enhance that makes your opponent commit 2 foundations. This takes away resources from them and allows us to then gain additional damage, allowing us to synergize with his abilities in our face. The question of how do we get committed foundations for the once per turn is answered by the stun 2 on face. Now, the big thing for me, in a previous video, I talked about stun baton thrust and how insane you can make this by giving it more instances of stun, and that is kind of what I wanted to do with Paul Phoenix. It has stun 2 on face, as well as being able to ready a rival foundation. So we play it, ready rival foundation, and then we can stun 2. Then the response triggers, and after a foundation is stunned due to a stun baton's stun ability, you gain X speed and X damage. X equals the combined difficulty of foundations committed this way. So with a stun 2, we'll commit 2 foundations. And if we say commit a 2 difficulty and a 3 difficulty foundation, we'll get +5 speed, +5 damage. Now with Paul, we can make this gain an additional stun 2. And then also with cards like Don't Do This, we can give it another stun 1. Making this essentially a stun 5. Which can get it ridiculous stats. Now, 0 foundations and face down foundations are a bit of a bane, but it is a very strong card overall. It can get very good stats, and it can set up and bait your opponents into using blocks on this, which they were going to need later on to deal with more. And because of how much speed and damage this can gain, it can force your opponent to use more resources to stop it. Stun button first on 3. Check the 3. Any response to the play?
No responses.
Stun 2.
I'll stun these 2.
Cool, I get 2.
I'll flip this mill 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll give my next check +1.
I'll discard a card and give this stun 2.
I will pass.
Stun 2. I'll give this one more. Catch a 0, catch a 3 mid for 5.
3 for 4. Yeah.
3 mid for 4, yeah.
I will take that for you.
So when you play things like the knockout punch, the rising uppercut, the attack times haymaker, the final smash, they can have a lot more damage behind them, and your opponents have resources to stop them. On a 5, checks a 5. Any response on play?
Nope.
Let's give this 7 damage.
Damn. I will pass.
3 low for 12.
3 on 4. Check take 4. I will take 6.
Wish Hard, if your rival has 6 or more ready foundations, it gains stun 2. But the big thing is when you discard it, as to Don't Do This or Paul Phoenix own ability, you can remove it to draw a card, meaning your hand size keeps full and you can keep discarding to stun more. Final Smash, because of how much you're stunning, your opponents are going to build out quickly. So this can drop from a 6 difficulty to a 4 difficulty quite quickly, and a 5 high for 6 that lets me stack the top card of my deck. When I have things like Wish Hard, Feral Shriek, Final Test, Both Hands Coaching, Loot Box are great at allowing us to be able to draw additional cards and either stack our checks to make sure we pass them, or make sure our next attack does some serious damage. Final smash on 4. Checks a 3 on 4. Any response on play?
No response on play.
Cool, let's add a final smash to the top of mine. I'll discard Wish Hard to give this stun 2, respond Wish Hard to remove it to your card.
I will pass.
Stun 2.
Yep, I will pass.
5 high for 6.
On a 6, checks a 5, 6 will block.
Attack times Haymaker, very notoriously hard to block, as you have to have a card that has printed difficulty you have to have a card with a printed difficulty 3 or higher to block it. Stun 2 on face and is a punch, which means it can receive the Paul Phoenix buffs. And then at the end of the turn, you can build this down as a foundation, which allows you to get 1 damage, or if you have 10 or less health, get 2 damage. A knockout punch says if this deals damage, you then also get to burn your opponent for 1 for each card in their card pool. This is great at the end of strings, as well as being a punch itself, allowing you to deal some excellent damage. The damage and life loss this card can do can easily hit double digits quite easily. After setting damage to a character, you lose 1 life for each card in your card pool.
Yeah, I'll lose this additional one, yeah.
But the last one was why I settled on Paul Phoenix, why I needed the all symbol, why I settled on Paul Phoenix, and why I wanted to do something very cool. Because Paul Phoenix's once per turn does not say your turn. And Rising Uppercut is a new card from Street Fighter 6, which has drive. After you completely block with this attack, try to play this attack after that attack resolves. So you get to add this to the attack stack, and after after that attack resolves, you get to play this, make a check, and if you pass it, you get to play it. And given that this reduces a non-ranged high attack speed to 4, it means that you can take an attack you were previously unable to block and put it in the blockable range, and then go, cool, I now get to play this. I will discard a card and stun you to giving you less resources for your turn. And then I will also take all of your foundations that you have committed, pump them into this attack, and you either take a fair amount of damage, minimum of 6 damage, or you block it, stuff your card pool, and have even less resources and and more progressive for your turn.
I'll pass 4 high 7.
Cool. On a 5. So 3, 4, 5. Any responses on the block?
No response.
I've completely blocked, so I'll spend a momentum and play this attack.
Nice, okay.
Yep, so I pass on that. Let's discard a card to give this stun to.
I will pass.
Stun 2.
Stun this and stun this. I will pass.
Let's give it 3 damage.
I will flip game next Fury -1 damage, minus ability. This time.
I will pass.
I will pass. I'll take 7.
This is absolutely solid to Paul's survivability, and the survivability is where the actions kind of come in. Teleportation Stone, if I block, then you have to play a non-attack. I'm looking at messing about with a progressive. Eden Box, setting things back to printed speed and damage. And if it was blockable, if it was unblockable, it's no longer unblockable. Great, easy way to help deal with stuff. Genkai's Guidance, yes, I have to blow up foundations, but staying alive is more important. And this is one that could possibly go to the sideboard, but to me, a very powerful and cool card. Host Kyoto, because of how much I'm discarding, I don't really have much left for defense. So being able to play this, play the other 5 cards in my hand, or discard some down, and knowing I'm going to draw more at the end of my turn, means that I can be a little bit more liberal with my discarding ability, and knowing I still have some defensive options. The foundation base is pretty much just about drawing cards and keeping defense. Unarmed non-combatant, to me, is an absolute menace of a card. Flip, after you block with a non-attack card, it gains breaker 2. So you have to pass check first because you have to block with it. But once you've blocked with it, gaining breaker 2 on this flip is very powerful. Yes, it has to be a non-attack card, but luckily we're running a lot of non-attacks. Any responses to block?
No responses to block.
I'll give it breaker 2. Any responses to block?
No responses to block.
I'll give it breaker 2. Any responses to block?
No, nothing.
Breaker 2.
Yeah, so I've got minus 3. On a 5, picks a
0.
1. I had +1 to my check.
Yeah, but you had -4.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you checked a 0 on a 5. Unfortunately, it allows me to draw cards in my opponent's turn by filtering my hand, but also if I discard it, similar to Wish Hard, I can remove it and draw an additional card. Final Test is an absolute must-have in Paul Phoenix. If you discarded a card this turn, if you discard a card this combat phase, draw a card. We're going to be discarding as long as we have an attack. So as a form, we get to draw, and that can synergize with things like Final Smash. Botan's Coaching and Hacker allow me to draw cards. Moment of Normalcy helps out with, similar to Item Box, allow me to reset a damage or speed, making something that was once unblockable, blockable. Fatal Decision helps with that as well, either giving something breaker that I know I can already block, or helping me with -2 speed to block. Loot Box can give resources on offense or defense, and then at the end of the turn those resources into additional defensive or offensive capability. Don't do this, gives it more stun, allowing that once per turn to become stronger. And the Kazuma's Power is just a nice spam foundation that can give my attacks more speed. Damage is not the big issue, but making them give that 1 speed can be quite huge. The sideboard I went very defensive with, mainly worried about throws or massive stat buffs, but the sideboard can be kind of changed out. So this is kind of where I've settled at the minute. Each of these cards and synergies work very well. This is a lot better and a lot more streamlined than the original deck list I had. And big shout out to UK versus R&D for talking me out of that. I wasn't even running Wishard at that point. This isn't one I'd probably take to regionals. The Stun Baton Thrusts are very cute and very fun at a locals level, but there are many times where they're just dead cards. Knockout Punch, again, very cool. It's a nice low. Not too many people really respect lows anymore, and it can do some serious damage. I want to take this deck on a bit more of a journey. I had a lot of fun playing it, and the deck and the gameplay for that should already be up. But let me know, is there anything in here that you guys want to be running? Is there anything in here that I'm missing out on or could make the deck more fun? I'm not too worried about making this competitive. I want this to just be something that myself and my opponent can have fun playing with and have these interesting interactions that made me fall in love with the game to begin with. So this is my Paul Phoenix list. I didn't come up with a witty name for it, unfortunately. And it's designed to stun you out and then whack you hard either in my turn or in yours. I will catch you all in the next one, and hopefully these deck lists will get a bit more polished the more I do them. I don't do deck lists often, and it's something that I'm going to have to kind of acquire the skill of. So let me know where and how I can improve, and I'll catch you all at game night. Bye.